What restrains a leader with the most power in the world? Hello, and welcome to the 10 Commandments of Leadership podcast. Here we educate, equip, and empower emerging leaders with God-thought leadership, and we also present current events and newsmakers in the light of best practices from the Bible. And today's commandment begins with one question: Lord, is it I? Today we're talking about why leadership governed by self alone is not restraint, but egoholism, and why Scripture, history, and experience all warn us as to where that road leads. What am I talking about? The January 7 New York Times interview featured the U.S. president's claim that his only constraint as commander-in-chief is his own morality. No international law, no external guardrails, just himself. That statement should give thoughtful citizens pause. Leadership, especially at the highest levels, is never meant to be governed solely by one's own self-assessment. When restraint is defined only by personal morality, leadership risks become self-referential, insulated, and dangerous. In my work, I call this condition egoholism, a distorted view of self that eclipses accountability, humility, and shared moral norms. History is not silent on this issue. The Bible recounts how, for example, King Nebuchadnezzar once stood atop his palace, admiring his Babylonian empire, declaring, "Look what I have built." His moment of self-exaltation was followed immediately by humiliation, to include 7 years of living like an animal, eating grass, until he acknowledged a power greater than himself. Leadership untethered from humility has always carried consequences. Jesus, however, offered a different model. At the Last Supper, he revealed that one of his disciples would betray him. The response was not finger-pointing. Instead, each disciple asked the same piercing question: "Lord, is it I?" That question reflects the true moral leadership, self-examination before accusation. The danger of egoholism is not confined to presidents or politicians. It shows up everywhere leaders believe they are the exception. In boardrooms, in churches, in classrooms, and in homes, for example. When leaders answer only to themselves, restraint erodes, trust weakens, and institutions suffer. The Scripture warns us plainly: those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. This lesson is timeless. Leadership is not validated by how much power one holds, but how faithfully that power is restrained. Before we point outward, however, the harder and holier question remains: where do I locate my own restraint? Leadership doesn't fail because of a lack of power. It fails because of a lack of restraint. And restraint that answers only to self is no restraint at all. The call of servant leadership is humility before authority, self-examination before self-exaltation. Until next time, remember, egoholism can't be cured, but it can be managed when we choose humility over self-rule. Hey, thanks for joining us this afternoon for the 10 Commandments of Leadership podcast. It happens every weekday at 4 p.m. Central Time. And we also invite you to join us each day for Tim Alston's Leadership Nuggets, educating, equipping, and empowering emerging leaders to manage their egos in 60 seconds. And those segments air at 7 a.m., 1 p.m., and 7 p.m. evenings, all Central Standard Time. And all of these are available on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. See you then, and invite a friend.